Growing sales, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard work because it's hard to get in front of the right type of people, and it's hard to get in front of more of the right type of people. And so when we're looking to grow sales, when we're looking to grow our businesses, what do? We typically turn to advertising. But here's the problem. If we turn to advertising, and if all of our competitors turn to advertising, and we're all using the same advertising channels to go after the same types of people, it becomes very competitive and it becomes very hard to stand out. And so I'm going to ask you this question. What if we did something different? What if we did the unexpected? What if we did not do what everyone else does, but we tried something else? Because we know in B2B, relationships matter. People matters. The experience you give the people you're working with, this all matters. And so if you're focused on growing your business and growing sales, we know that we need more people to know us, we need more people to like us, and we need more people to trust us. But the first step of that is getting more people to know us. And so if we're going to get more people to know us, but we're not going to do advertising the way that everyone else does, we're going to do something different, here's a few things we have to do. First, we have to know who these people are. Who are the right type of people? We need to understand where do they go. And I'm not just talking about what sites they visit or whether they're on Facebook or on YouTube. I'm talking about where do they go? What industry events do they go to? What social events do they go to? Where do they spend their time? Where do they physically go? And then you can drop yourself right in front of them by being where they are, by creating an unexpected experience, by being the only company or the only person in the location that they are at the time. Now, this doesn't have to be hard. This doesn't have to be complicated. I might sound vague, but I'm talking about local sports events, right? Your local CFL team. I'm talking about OHL hockey. I'm talking about demo days with equipment. I'm talking about plant tours. I'm talking about trade shows. I'm talking about my brother-in-law is really involved in his Rotary Club in his small town, and he leads Rib Fest as a fundraiser for the local hospital. Now, when you structure this around marketing for lead generation and for sales, it's called experiential marketing. And that's exactly what we're going to explore with today's guest, Brook Jay. Now, Brook is a pioneer in experiential marketing. In fact, she's worked with brands like Ferrari and with Nike and with Pepsi. And she is the founder and CEO of the agency All Terrain, who's known for creating these really impactful brand experiences. Now, in today's conversation, we're going to focus on a lot of things that really big companies are doing, but we also break down real-world examples for what small and medium-sized businesses can do to be able to stand out, attract more of the right type of person, and create memorable experiences. So welcome to How to Sell More, the sales podcast for non-sales people, where each week our expert guests and topics cover practical branding tips, marketing tactics, and sales strategies to help ambitious B2B leaders like you tackle the biggest challenge we all face, and that's growing revenue. I'm Mark Drager. Let's get into it. So, Brook, you have decades of experience in experiential marketing. And I've been working in the marketing space for a few years myself. But experiential, I feel like that could be live events. It could be trade shows. It could be private functions or mastermind groups or hitting the streets and really bringing in people into like your new opening of your new location. It could be anything because I almost don't know what it is. So help me and help the audience understand, in the world that you live in, what is experiential marketing?
Well, experiential marketing is in its ethos, creating a moment between a brand and a consumer and an emotional connection. It can happen in a mall. It can happen at some of the biggest sporting events in the world. It can tour around. It can happen in a dealership. Really, it is about showing up in stride with consumers and providing value without a really heavy sales push to it. Everyday experiences that the everyday consumer has is you might go into a grocery store and somebody may say, would you like to try this wine? That is part of a tentacle of experiential. It's retail marketing, but it's still building an experience. When you go to a major sporting event, you see a Chevy or a GM car at a baseball game and you see people around it. And someone walks up to it and wants to have an exchange of value, which might be a t-shirt that's co-branded with the team, for the opportunity to walk around the car and learn a little bit more about it. The idea is that you give the consumer an opportunity to learn about a brand in a very nuanced way.
And so if I'm listening to this now and I'm thinking, okay, I'm always looking for a way to stand out in the crowd. I'm always looking for a way to give that extra experience, feeling, emotion, that interaction with my prospects. And I want to do it in a way that's like more in person and not necessarily just a Facebook advertising campaign or something. Then I need to go out into the streets. I need to go to the events. I need to create a space. I need to do this. Like, how do you even approach this? Or are most organizations coming to you and saying, I want to rent this location for this night to look like this? Or are they just coming to you with like, help me? Like, I want to make a bigger impact. What do I do?
Yeah, they're coming to us with a problem to solve or an opportunity. And that experience design might take place in a lot of different formats. So it could start in social through maybe an influencer campaign, then go into a live experience, and then back into social. And during that time, we've shot content that helps support the storytelling of the whole narrative of what we're trying to do for the client. So there's never one specific area. Experiential has grown so much. We started this company 25 years ago. It wasn't even a term, experiential. It's got like brand activation or sponsorship activation. And with the onset of social media, everything got upended again. So you can't really predict or just say that an experience is going to show up in the streets. It really is something that is about building emotional connection between a brand and consumer in an authentic way. And what that arena is could change based on what the product or what the initiative is.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because you just reminded me that we did work for a few years with Jaguar Land Rover, and they would do these tours where they would rent racetracks. Yes. Private racetracks. They would invite all these different user groups in. So it might be EO, or it might be YPO, or it might be different people who they think might. I remember speaking to the president of Jaguar Land Rover, and they said, we need a Jaguar in every driveway, and we need a Land Rover right beside it. like you need the sports car, you need the SUV. But they did these huge tours, which were amazing. Because they would set it all up, and it was such a great whining and dining experience, and it gave such a great brand perception, and we would come in and shoot all the media for it. So it could be used for next year's event advertising. It could be used for social. It could be used at the auto show. It could be used for email. Like, just spin out the content as much as you can. But so when I think of that, let's maybe frame our conversation that way. It's the idea that we as business owners have the opportunity to invite people into a world that we create, to experience something that's a little bit novel, a little bit different, kind of cool, and hopefully in some way, I guess it supports our very ethos, like our culture, our thinking, our processes, working with us. Like, are those essentially the steps?
100%. And the example you gave, we produce those kind of events all the time for brands like GM and Ferrari. So the Jaguar example is a great one, because not everybody's buying a car, every year, every day, like maybe CPG. So what Jaguar and Land Rover were doing right there was building community, keeping their community engaged, finding ways to stay top of mind during that buying cycle, and generating great content that helps share that from, one-to-one to one-to-many. And Experiential is very much about the community development as well as storytelling aspect of the brands.
And let's imagine now, I'm going to just keep peppering you with questions, I love this. Let's imagine now that I have a national sales team or sales network, or I have a distribution network. Can experience marketing be kind of slightly shifted to not even thinking maybe about the end customer, but maybe even the people in between ourselves and the end customer, where we create experiences to bring in our dealer network, our sales team, and try to win them over as well?
100%. The B2B sales funnel can take great pages out of the B2C marketing initiatives, in the fact that you still need to differentiate yourself as a product. You still need to keep your client engaged in the brand, and you still need to build an experience that makes them not want to go anywhere else. So it could be your SOPs. It could be that you guys throw the biggest and best convention parties. It could be the fact that you just have ritual behind the way your sales funnel works. And therefore people have come to understand what it means, what's the experience of buying from you. So I think it's a very universal tactic that can be used in so many different sales cycles and in so many different marketing cycles.
You're getting me so excited about this stuff now because as I'm thinking about it, we worked with a welding company once who knew that people would fly to this huge event, but they didn't want to get space at the event. So they created an off-site welding kind of experience with like a bus, and they were driving people in and out so they could get them in their own environment. And basically, like, they kind of just hijacked the fact that people would be at the event to create their own event in the same day in the same city. And I was like, this is amazing. So I'm just like, you're reminding me now of all these stories from my past.
Yeah, you're very fluent in experiential marketing, Mark.
I didn't even know that. Hey. So obviously this medium is going to have pros and cons like any medium. And so I want to be really transparent and honest about this. What are 2 of the 3 of the pros where experiential marketing will give you a tighter connection or a better experience than maybe online, social, one-on-one meetings, whatever it might be? And then equally, what are some of the challenges or cons that come along with this?
Sure. So especially in a day and age where we're so locked into our phones and into our computers and into our screens in general, really smart strategic experience design is the one thing that's going to break through clutter immediately. It's going to build a genuine and authentic moment between you and your client, your consumer, and it's going to be a way to be like personalize the moment versus it being a big spray and pray kind of marketing initiative. It's the stickiest form of marketing, and the fact that you can really track and meet somebody in an experience and track from the time they go to the point of purchase, which is something that experiential gets a bad rap on for not being able to track and measure it effectively. I mean, I could say so many good things about it. You can create a commercial out of a human experience that you have. So there's that one-to-one, one-to-many. So you create an experience for content that then becomes something that people have a FOMO moment about or any of that. It's a great place to get liquid to lips or trial. And really, it's a focus group moment for brands to really understand how their end target user is going to react to the brand. And then another opportunity is what the most authentic storytelling is when people take your brand story and share it to the world in their own words. That's where I'm really listening now. When somebody who I find influential or interesting is talking about a brand experience, but it's not coming direct from the brand. Now you've got, cred. And a lot of that comes out of experiential.
So just real quick though, it's interesting to me because as you're speaking, I'm thinking about a lot of the projects we've done in the past, where as a creative agency, as a branding agency, as a strategy agency, we would spend an incredible amount of time and thought and frankly, client budget to create an atmosphere, a set, a place, whatever you might want to call it, an environment where we can go out and shoot content. And it's all manufactured and it's all under our control and it's all tightened up. But we would spend all of this time and energy to do it. And as you're speaking, I'm thinking, you know what? The other times where we could go out and create the environment and it's totally artificial to go make content. Or you could create a real environment with real people, with real experiences, and then bring someone like us in to happen to capture that. And if it's the same amount of work, and if it's the same amount of effort, and frankly, it might even be more budget to do it our way than your way, why wouldn't you put all that time and effort into the benefit of maybe doing sweepstakes or making it feel exclusive? Or do people use sweepstakes anymore? Is that a term? Contests.
They do.
Like make it a contest or make it a special invite or elevate it into a status thing and then create this great atmosphere in this great event and bring everyone in, let them experience it, let them share it on social media and then capture it and spin it out later the way that you're describing, rather than put all of this time and money and effort into something that's brought together just for the purposes of spinning it out later. You're missing a whole bunch of opportunities along the way, aren't you?
Yeah, I think, listen, this is where with a smart digital campaign and a smart social media strategy combined with an immersive moment like this, to your point, it's going to create this live connection. It's going to drive sales. It's going to build and deepen the relationship between you and your audience. It should always be in the marketing mix. It doesn't have to cost millions of dollars.
I'm glad you said that because I wasn't thinking it was going to cost millions.
No, it shouldn't have to. Not always. I mean, big brand moments that like ownable moments at Super Bowl and some of the big things you see that people connect to big experiential. Those are multi-million dollar moments. But some of the smartest and most successful things have cost for us under $100,000.
And so I wanted to jump in real quick and get to a few of the cons. What would be some of the drawbacks to experiential marketing, which I imagine can be supplemented again with smart social strategies? And like, if you do a full holistic approach, you're going to cover these off. But just the bucket of experiential, what does it not do very well?
I think that the live experiences have a human element to it, right? You don't have, to your point, you can't cut and restart. So there's components of weather, there's components of the human factor, that there's the fact that technology can go down. There is all the factors of just like being on a movie set where something could go awry. It's the same challenges when you're doing larger scale experiential, big moments like that. What I love about the cons element and the way All Terrain works is that we make our campaigns, especially if they're long tail, like big tours, we have the ability to pivot really quickly on language that might not be working. What might have worked in Miami might not be working in Mobile, Alabama. So we have the ability to pivot and move quickly and to update the environment when those challenges arise. So you really can't do that when you're, spend a ton of money on a big commercial and just hope the messaging lands. We have the ability to augment talk points and even the look and feel of an experience as we move it through the world. So we can find out the hard way that it's not working, but we can also change in real time how something is and overcome challenges pretty quickly.
Yeah. And you know what? I think anyone who's listening who spends any time with selling understands the value of that rapid iteration. When you're at an event, when you're having your intro meetings, when you're speaking to someone and you're working through new messaging or new targeting or even developing a new offer, just the more you can get it under your belt and practice and see the reactions of the people you're speaking to, the tighter and better it's going to be. And so that is a great point about the fact that just over time, the event is going to tighten up and the people are going to get sharper and smarter and better. And the experience is going to get sharper and smarter and better as you go along as well, right?
Yeah. And when you draw the line to great salespeople and great experience and that redundancy, what we do, we find ourselves in front of people 365 days a year. We are cultural anthropologists. We know what people will react to. We understand what they will run screaming from. So understanding and practicing your pitch, being in the sales world, which is what we're doing. We are generally the front line for a brand. We are selling, but doing a soft sale in a way that like really invites you in, where the consumer is chasing us rather than we're chasing them. And if that's when it's done right. And a good salesperson also has that capacity to make people just want to work with you because you've really been able to finesse the talking points, the delivery, and the understanding of the end user. So there's a lot of great connectivity between what you do at Sales Loop and what we do every day at All Terrain.
So you mentioned the fact that it gets a bad rap in terms of attribution models, being able to attribute a lead source to a sale. And so I know one of the biggest pushbacks I've gotten from clients in the past who do live events is the challenge of measuring ROI, the challenge of measuring effectiveness, the challenge of tracking back lead source. I mean, I've gone as far to tell some of our clients, like, listen, if you're really this worried about it, bring on a staff member and bring on a little clicker and count how many people are coming by your booth and how many people are speaking to you and collect their information on a tablet with a really great offer to get it. And now you have impression count, you have conversation count, which is almost like, a click. So for those who are online, and then you have the email capture. Like, it's not that complicated. We could figure out ways to make this happen in the past. I used to work with a mattress company that sold mattresses. And every time you'd walk in, the buzzer would go off because they counted how many people came into the store so they could count everything. And we had to load all this stuff in. And the sales manager was getting really upset because we kept opening and closing the door and we were throwing his numbers off. So listen, this has all been solved in the past. It's not that hard. But how do you go about ensuring that ROI can be measured back and that these campaigns can be proven effective?
It's such a great question because many experiential campaigns have narrow KPIs. They're like social media impressions, earned media, which it makes it really hard to track directly back to sales. But the solution that we found early on in our career or in our tenure is that both the sales and marketing teams need to be at the table and working in lockstep with the agency teams. And this happens way less than you would think it would. But when it does, you can track from the time you meet a consumer at an experience and straight through the point of sale. And we've been instituting these tactics very early on in our company's history. We really honed our best practices with our work with GM. So we were brought on to manage all their major league sponsorships. So baseball, hockey, football, et cetera, golf. We were, basically brought the showrooms out to the masses in their everyday lives on behalf of GM's divisions in every region of the US. So equating to coverage of over 55 major markets. And through management of most of these major league sports and lifestyle events, we developed this 3-step process, which was design compelling activation footprint. So get people to come to us, have an anchor element like great premiums. Premiums are like, like flies to honey. If you have a big sports fan and you've got an Angels t-shirt that looks really cool and it's got a Chevy logo on the back, they want it. And they're willing to stand there and talk to our team and do a walk around and talk about their buying horizon and give us our data. Our teams are really well honed to talk. If it's a parent, we're going to talk about safety. If it's a young guy like you, Mark, we're going to talk about the speed. And
I appreciate that you think that I'm that young, but I'm a father of 4 with a daughter going off to college next year. So I want the nice, safe, economic vehicle for her to drive around in.
Right. So we train on social and emotional intelligence for our brand ambassadors. We talk about what's going to be important to the person you're talking to and how do you get that dwell time to extend while you're on the footprint. And then from there, we provide an incentive to go to dealerships. So it's like a gift card of some sort. And it's only activated when you go to the dealership. So now we've got that point. The dealership, we see when the card gets activated. And then from there, the dealership groups report back to GM and their agencies what sales occurred through those promotional streams. And that, for us, we were selling over about $120 million worth of vehicles were directly appointed to our sales annually to all-terrain programs as we worked with them throughout the years. And so taking that kind of lockstep approach, we have been able to implement that into other industries. Not all of them, but a good deal of them.
So let's play a game. Are you cool playing a quick game? I want to give the audience a sense of, because this may sound interesting, it might sound very cool, but I want to ensure that we break this down because I believe that at no matter the level of your business, that experience really matters.
Yep.
And being able to form connections. We've talked a lot about this on the podcast with AI, with the mass glut of content that is out there. Standing out and being different and creating great relationships is going to become more and more and more valuable as fewer people do it. So let's imagine that I'm like a senior principal. I'm a partner in an engineering firm.
Okay.
Or an architectural and engineering firm. And we work with building these amazing office buildings or these malls, or anyone who's in engineering is like, Mark, what are you talking about? You're making this
what
up
are you talking
clearly.
about?
Well, let's imagine that I'm a professional services firm and I spend all day, every day doing really smart, great work for my clients, and we're specialists. I think I want to do something I want to do a win-back campaign. I have all these clients that we worked through in the past. We haven't had a chance to connect with them in a long time, and I need a reason to reconnect with them. What would be the first few questions you'd be asking me? What do I need to tell you? What do I need to know to be able to see if this is something I could pull off?
Well, first, everything we can know about the brand, relevant branding, documentation, anything that has to do with your brand story. Obviously, setting up program objectives immediately, like who's the target audience, goals. If it's winning client back, how are we going to track that? And what's our role inside of that? What specifically do you want from us to support that? Key markets, timing, really going deep on the emotional relevancy of the target audience. It really helps us understand who we're talking to, what's going to matter to them, any insights that you might have or a POV on them.
And so do I write a brief on all of this stuff? Or you guys would meet with me and you'd brainstorm and you'd pull it out of me? And what do I need to bring to you?
Okay, so most of our clients, so are big Fortune 1, Fortune 500 companies, and so they're well versed in the brief. But for mid-level companies that aren't doing this on the regular, a good agency should be able to pull these brief. We have a brief format that we'll bring to the table. We need to talk about creative imperatives, competitive situations. We're going to ask you a little bit about that. What are your current challenges? What's a gold standard of somebody else you've seen do this? Give us an example of something that really blew your mind or you really found to be that they reaped a great deal of reward from it. And what's the budget? Always ask the budget.
Of course. What's the goal? What's the timelines? What's the budget? Okay, fantastic. So this is why I wanted to get a little bit into the weeds on this because what I find interesting is really great focus on goals, on business drivers, brand story, emotion, who you're looking to connect with, what you're looking to get out of them. It's almost as if, I think, listener, you can imagine this as a story you're trying to tell someone. And if you think about the story or the experience, the story that you're trying to tell to someone, there's going to be some ups, there's going to be some downs, there's going to be it's not told like you're reading a textbook. This is not something that is meant to be like operational. This is meant to be something that is emotional, really, right? We're looking to make emotional connections with real people.
Yes.
This is not about just checking some boxes and making it happen. Does that tend to, and of course, not the corporate 100, not the brand managers who focus on this type of stuff all the time, but our your mid-level clients, does that worry them or scare them almost because it's a little less tangible than just a digital marketing campaign?
I think there's a lot of confusion about how to tell your story and where to tell your story with all kinds of people in general. But with a mid-level client like that, mid-level size business, I don't know if it worries them if they're very confident in their ownership of their space in the industry. I think what I find is that a lot of people have a million stories they want to tell you about how great they are and what makes them different and why they should be number one instead of number 7 or whatever it is in the hierarchy of their industry. I think it's just getting in the right swim lane, figuring out how to tell the story and where to tell the story and what cadence to tell the story. Those are the things that I think keep CEOs and sales level executives up at night is like, how do I break through the clutter and get noticed, which is something you brought up earlier, and what channels do I use to get there?
Oh, amazing. I've been speaking with Brook Jay, who's the founder and CEO of the collective called All Terrain. Final question for you, Brook. If you gave us just one tip or one strategy to sell more, what would that be?
Authenticity. I feel like it's becoming an abused word, but ultimately people want to buy from authentic people or brands that stand up for a value. And it's getting more and more important in this day and age than ever. And so I think coming at it from a place of true authenticity and what value are you providing, being a go-giver in those moments is really what's going to help people become better salespeople and get the attention of their client quicker.
And that was the conversation that I had with Brook Jay. Now, to wrap up the episode, I'm going to share my 3 biggest takeaways from this talk. Number 1, experiential marketing can help strengthen this feeling or the sense of community. You are out in the world. You are out in the real world. You are not hiding online. You're not hiding in your office. You're not just meeting in sales meetings. You are literally out there creating experiences and connections with every person you connect with. And being present and being real and being there can help foster this sense of community and loyalty amongst your prospects and your customers, which can help keep your brand and your company top of mind as people move through the buying cycle. Number 2, and as a marketer, I can't stress how important this is. It gives you an amazing way to create content online for future campaigns and future advertising. Because these experiences not only create like a real world engaging experience right now in real time, but then you can use this campaign and this experience to generate really great content that's going to be repurposed for your marketing, across all the different platforms, across social media, across email campaigns, across advertising. You can do it for now and you can do it forever, theoretically, until it ages out. It's a really great way to create real, authentic social and marketing content. And number 3, you can create great incentives. Using incentives like branded merchandise or exclusive offers can help drive engagement and collect key information, key data, lead generation, making it so much easier to be able to measure a campaign success down the line. So there you have it. Those were my 3 biggest takeaways from this talk. But I'm curious, what were yours? Did anything challenge your perspective? Did anything pop out at you? Did you have an aha moment? Let's dive a little deeper into this over on LinkedIn. It's where I share great ideas and try to spark discussion over there on LinkedIn. I'm Mark Drager, and you can find my contact details in the episode show notes. Now, while you're over on LinkedIn, be sure to follow Brook Jay for even more dynamic and impactful content. You can check out her website, brookjay.com, and you can connect with her over on Instagram under the handle All Terrain, her agency. One last thing, if you made it this far into the show, you really should subscribe. Now, why? Because each week, we share actionable tips and strategies, just like what Brook shared with us today, to be able to boost sales and grow your company. I'm Mark Drager. Thanks for listening. I will catch you in the next episode.